Hello and welcome to Your Soul Guidance with Adriana. I'm a clairaudient channel and an intuitive reader. Today I wanted to talk to you about a very important concept on the spiritual path, which is perception. It's all about perception. I don't script any of the videos on this channel. I'm not quite sure where exactly this one is going to take us, but I know that there's a couple key points that we need to talk about. So, in the bodies we have, we can perceive reality very different ways depending on the beliefs we're holding or the thoughts we're thinking. And we can choose thoughts or beliefs that are positive, we can choose thoughts or beliefs that are negative, but whatever framework we're sitting in will enhance and color and determine the way we are perceiving the world. So I'll give you a little story. When I was in high school, I was going through that obviously awkward time where you feel like you're not attractive and no one loves you. And of course, I thought this was reinforced by the fact that all of my female friends seemed to have boyfriends and I did not. So, I had all this stuff going in my head. It's the usual teenage insecurity. So we went to a dance as a big group, and there was, of course, the dreaded slow dance, and everyone's up with their dates. And of course, I didn't go with a guy, but there was another one of our friend group guys who was unattached, and he asked me to dance. And it was fine. It was casual. I enjoyed it, but in my mind, I thought I was so undesirable and so unattractive that there's no way he would want to do another dance with me. So when that song ended, I just, without a word, took my arms down and just walked away without speaking to him. And we had a very awkward sitting at the table alone together, watching everyone else dance for the next dance. So the point is, I don't know if he would have liked another dance with me or not. He didn't give me any indication that he was not enjoying the dance. He didn't make any excuses like, oh, I got to go to the bathroom, or I've got to go over and talk to someone. It was me who decided that I was undesirable and therefore cut myself off from the possibility of another nice experience. So it had nothing to do with reality. Really, I had no basis for drawing that conclusion in that moment. Okay, but because of what else was going on in my head, that's what I did. So there's so much depth in this topic because a lot of the beliefs that we hold, a lot of the things that color our filter are unconscious. And that's the whole point of being on the spiritual path, is to dig through the shadow, to dig through the subconscious and pull up those beliefs that are causing you to interact with your reality in a way that, one, causes you pain, and two, isn't true to the real you. Again, with that situation, I don't know if I would have said to him, hey, would you like another dance? If he would have said yes or no. But the point is that what I was thinking about myself was wrong. I was not undesirable. I was not unworthy. I was not unlovable. None of those things are true. So it's very important to keep an eye on how you're perceiving reality, because this is the distressing thing I learned this morning. If you've got the wrong filter on, you can totally misinterpret the raw data, the information in front of you. So when I was writing my dissertation for piano, one of my mentors had given me this source to look at. And it was this research that showed when the brain is in a positive frame of mind, when you're thinking good emotions, when you are relaxed, when you're happy to be where you are, that is when we process information the best, is when we're in a positive frame of mind. So if you work with other people, if you're a teacher, if you can get the person you're with to relax or feel good about themselves in some way, whatever you talk about next, they will listen to it and they have the best chance of processing it accurately. When we're in a negative frame of mind, the way I understand it is we're not fully present in reality. We're in this space and we're looking at things a certain way, and we tune into reality and then we tune back out. We tune back into that churning or that heavy down or this litany that's going on in thoughts in your mind. And then we turn back into the present, and then we're back in our mind. So you see, the present is going like this. It's unfolding like this. All the raw data is unfolding like this. But we're only in here, or we're coming in here, or we're coming in there. We're not along with it the whole way. This would be perceiving the whole situation. So now here's the big question. If you don't have someone to bounce this off of, how do you know if you're in a negative perception or a bad perception or an unhelpful perception or not? You have to look at the evidence. The spiritual plane is not just somewhere over there or up here. It's around us, it's inside us, and it operates on all the levels. So it has to be validated on all planes. So if your filter is telling you one thing, it can be really helpful to sit down and in a way that, in a space where you have some time to think about this or write it out and go through and say, what's the evidence? Do I have any evidence for the way I'm thinking? Evidence being as close to factual as you can. This is a little difficult when you're dealing with other people's behavior because that's another interpretation, right? That's another layer of interpretation. But you have to kind of consider it all together. What are they saying? How are they saying it? How did the tone hit me? What was their body language? Am I seeing a pattern of this again? There's just a lot to pick up on. And ultimately what we're trying to do is believe the truth about ourselves. And again, that's the point of the shadow work, to go down in there, say, okay, that belief that was formed from a place of hurt where my inner child registered some kind of trauma, a neglect, an abandonment, a rejection. And I formed a set of beliefs based on that experience, but they are not real. They're not true. They're real, but they're not true. Real because they happened, but they're not true anymore. So if you find that the evidence isn't really supporting your actions or your conclusions, then maybe my perception is a bit off. If it can't be validated, if it can't be stacked up against some kind of logic that hangs together, then it's likely a perceptual problem. Okay, so if I have this belief that no matter where I go, I'm rejected, and I tell that to myself, no matter where I go, I'm rejected, no matter where I go, I'm rejected, that also becomes my reality. Because the way I interact with other people is to perhaps push them away, or to push a button, or maybe I ignore them because I'm afraid of being rejected. So you see, this influences my behavior. So now we're on to another layer of complexity, because you're going to say, well, but look at my evidence, look at what they all did. But you also have to look back at your behavior. And again, back to that belief. Is there a thread there? So that's a different kind of sitting down with yourself, right? So what I believe higher guidance is trying to get us to understand is that our perception down here is always going to be slightly colored. I don't think we're ever going to be able to metaphorically drink pure water as it is from the source, because there is always some kind of filter. Especially when you go to a reader or get a reading, there is a filter, and it is the job of the reader to be aware of that filter. And so it's very important when you choose a reader to go to that reader is aware and has done some work on themselves, so that you're not totally getting a reading colored by their shadow. Point is, we can get as close to pure as possible, and in the experience of getting as close to pure, we experience a lot more joy, a lot more calm, a lot more peace, and a lot more love, because what all of these traumas and hurts and shadows and all of these things are doing are preventing us from either giving love or receiving love. They are blocking the flow of love. So when you can learn how to release them, your perception is in a way cleansed, because it's more aligned with love, which is a very high vibration, which is closer to that energy of pure. Okay, so let me see. You see if we've touched all the topics and if there's anything else. I just want to say it's just so important, because when you go into the world of listening to your intuition and interpreting your dreams and listening to communication from the other side, or somehow receiving communication, maybe it's pictures or maybe it's sounds or knowing, it is just so important that we have as clean a perception as possible, and that we're also not, oh yeah, this was the other point I wanted to make, that we're not allowing our desires to cloud what we're seeing. So this is the funny thing that can happen in a couple different ways. I have so many thoughts on this, I don't know how to organize it for you. But when we want something so badly, then that's how we see reality. So, silly thing, if you're looking at compatibility, maybe of astrological signs or numerological life paths or whatever, if you only want to see compatibility because maybe you really want to be with this person and you only want to see the good news, you're probably going to skip over the information that doesn't match that. Or that desire will be so strong that only those articles that tell you good news are going to be drawn towards you. Okay? So there's that aspect of it, that what you truly want to see becomes your nexus of attraction. It becomes like a magnet. But on the other hand, if what you want to see comes from a wound, which means it comes from a place of lack, then that's what you're going to be attracting. Okay, so if I want to see, let's say I have the wound of rejection. If I want to see people running away from me, that's how I'm going to perceive reality. It's just really because that's what I want to see. That's the problem, is I'm wanting to see it. So you have to make sure that what you want to see is aligned with your highest benefit, with your highest good. And because that's, again, that positive alignment. So rather than like looking for compatibility and is this going to work, is this not going to work, and only wanting to hear the good news because I want a certain outcome, it'd be much better to say, well, I want to see the whole picture. I want to see potential strengths. I want to see potential weaknesses. I want to find strategies to help the weaknesses become strength. I want to understand how our energies can work with each other. I want to understand how our energies can work against each other. So that's perceiving from a much more neutral place without desiring a particular outcome. You know, perhaps I'm desiring this relationship to work so much because I haven't had a functional relationship. But having that desire still comes from, I haven't had a functional relationship, therefore I lack a good relationship. And it still skews your perception. It still messes with the way you're seeing reality. So, to conclude, just be aware of how you're seeing reality before you interpret it. And it's really helpful to sit down and write down, get in touch with these beliefs that you have about yourself. What do I think about myself? What do I think about myself with other people? What do I feel I deserve? And what do I believe about love? Is love something that effortlessly flows to me, that I have no problems giving? Is it something I need to earn? Is it something that other people have an easier time with and I have a hard time with? It's all of these questions of self-discovery, and then you start to see, how is this affecting my perception of the situation here? How is this affecting my behavior towards my loved ones or towards my partner and towards my colleagues at work? You know, if I never feel like I have something to contribute in a meeting, how does that affect the tone of my voice? How does that affect my posture? We have so much power not to delude ourselves and pretend like the world is wonderful and everything is always happy. And I mean, that's not what I mean by positive. We have so much power to align with love and growth and healing, but only if we allow the perceptions that let in love and growth and healing. So, a lot to think about here. Thanks so much for joining me. If you have any questions or you want to leave a comment, please feel free to do so in the comment section below. And I'll see you again soon.